for kids. I think using social media to educate our kids about civil rights and other issues of that nature is a really good way to engage young people. I mean, now it's just a click of the button on my phone, and you can see the Selma, the March on Montgomery or the March on Selma, things of that nature. So now it's easy. It's just a click of the button away. We just need to teach our young people to be critical thinkers and kind of use what you have in order to tool yourself to understand these things. So I think that's more the route that we need to go.
And I think one of the things that we keep hearing over and over is something about education. Well, education does not just happen in the classroom. That's right. So it happens all over. I mean, one of the things that I've heard in talking about the no child left behind, and it's kind of a bad joke, but it's like, right, we will not leave one single child behind, but it's okay to leave all of them. So.
Let me just touch on education. When I refer to education, I'm speaking education in a broader sense, not just between four walls. There's in a broader sense. But to give you an example, what can we do here now? What's happening right in our city now? I served on the Kent County Board of Social Services for about 14 years. A 3-member board, we spend over $1 million a week providing the services, and it's become a contract after contract. At the same time, I had met Paul Phillips. Some of you may remember him. He ran with Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens set a record in the Olympics. And I had done some running myself at some point. But Paul came into town and made the changes as far as civil rights and affirmative action within the city of Grand Rapids, opening up contracts. He was just starting to work on the county when he died. At some point, I wanted to see that we would not forget him, because opening up affirmative action in a contract area is difficult. So I made the motion before this 3-member board, one is appointed by the governor, 2 by the county, that the building be named after Paul Phillips. If you had dropped a couple of hand grenades in that room at that moment, it couldn't be any louder. The media was there, it was never reported. But I had worded my motion, I had gone back to Robert's Rules of Orders so that they would not easily make a change. The first thing that happened is the man at the end of the table, very prominent with a business here in town, an executive, he had his own plane, and he gets up and starts walking in back of me, back of the table, and he says, "This is treason. This is treason." And then he comes and stands close to me, and the only thing I said, "Don't touch me." But that building was named after Paul Phillips. The name is up there. But why do we have to address it now? A new building was put up, and his name is not on there. Who is going to get up now and get a group of people and say, "Look, this is wrong. We want it corrected. The minutes that this building should have been named that." I received a very nice letter from the family of Paul Phillips. But these are things that we're living with.
Right.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to respond to this, or?
Real quick, because what this young gentleman stated excited me, and what he was talking about. If you look at what's going on today, this concept of Generation X, I love the fact that nobody has yet mentioned we now in history have our first Generation X president. The internet that you use and social media that you use was created by Generation X, our generation. And so you're seeing a cultural paradigm shift, and I love your frustration, because that's the frustration we felt 20 years ago, trying to be part of the movement. The movement was, as we know it, what you saw in that video, was done. The paradigm shift you're seeing is the technology and the new industries that are happening. The battles that you're seeing online with the Tea Party movement, with where the races of my day, in my opinion, have now migrated to, it's a cultural battle that's going on. There is more in common between Generation X and Y than there are between the baby boomers. That is where I see a lot of the anger towards Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, not because he's half black. It's because he is a boomer. He has different progressive thoughts. His views on different cultural things scare people tremendously. In the conversations that I'm seeing online, the one fact I do disagree with you on is when you go into places like Facebook. Back in our day when we had CompuServe and AOL, no, you're talking about very segregated groups where you were only talking to your friends in social media. And today, amongst my many friends on Facebook, I met Jonathan much long time ago online before I ever met him in person. There was dialogue. There's people on my right, on my left. We're having conversations. The conversations we're having today have been going on for a couple years now online. That excites me. And when I see anger amongst Generation Y, that excites me because that means there is a potential of a new civil rights movement, because it'll take your generation to take what we did and then truly escalate it online worldwide. Iran is a perfect example of that.
There's an angry person that says, what is black? Okay? Barack Obama is not half black. There is no such race as black. Black is multicultural. So be careful when you say he's half black. He's not half black.
I'm saying that's how the media refers to him.
But that's part of the problem.
I agree.
Is that
I agree.
we get told we're black. What's black? Again, that's disenfranchising us from any race.
Same way that I'm half Asian. What does that mean? I agree.
I want to interject this, Ms. Muhammad, real
go
quick.
interject.
One thing, I don't want to get in the middle of that right there. We'll let them have that out. That's like Tyson and Holyfield right there. I want to interject what I think, speaking to the young man, one of my probably fellow millennial peers, what I think is the new, what is one of the new real frontiers as far as addressing civil rights and issues of race in America. Race being, I think, America's, cancer, man. I mean, it has the potential to be our Waterloo if we don't get it under control. I think that young people having a colorblind attitude and being apathetic and complacent to these issues and not having the historical framework in order to address these issues is the bigger issue here. You have what I'm concerned about is before you saw so many examples of blatant racism that you could not help but feel a certain way about what was going on in the country, what was going on with people getting discriminated and not being able to ride the same buses, things of that nature, people not getting services delivered in the same way. Today, people think that because they voted for Barack Obama or because they watched The Cosby Show or grew up on Oprah, that they are not racist or aren't predisposed to being racist, or that the system has somehow changed because they are more aware of these culturally iconic figures, and that's really not the case. The truth remains that the system still is operating about the same as it was in the 60s, as it was in the 20s, and so on and so forth. And the system is still excluding others and keeping others. I mean, race was constructed socially for power and money in the first place. That's why it was created. I might be 10 times more genetically like a Caucasian person than I am like Commissioner Lumpkins over there or Ms. James. So it was constructed in the first place for power and money. And so the thing is that the system, it's like the Matrix. It's working to just keep itself in power, to keep itself intact. And when you have a president like Barack Obama, which is a step in the right direction, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to change how the system works. And that's where our focus and our energy needs to be, that institutional, structural piece, as opposed to so much the interpersonal me versus you problems.
And it's definitely not going to change so quickly. I mean, having access, because that's one of the things I hear. We have access. You can push a button on a little screen and get any video about the civil rights movement. Access does not equal activism. Right. And just because young people and old people, we all have the same access, is what we know and what to do with that access. That's where I'm hearing some of the gap here. We're getting down to our 6 minutes here. You look like you have something to add here.
I absolutely agree, and I mean the work certainly needs to be done in relation to racism, which is institutional racism, and there's no doubt about it. And we need to get to the point where people don't do individual acts, or so few people do individual acts of discrimination and prejudice that they don't speak for the whole. Because now, when an individual does something discriminatory or says something racist, prejudicial, they're seen as counting as speaking for the whole, because that's been our history. And we need to get to the place, because there may be individuals always who are going to do stupid things, but if society hasn't reinforced that, then they're speaking for themselves, not for the whole. And we're not at that point yet. But in relation to education, it's always the issue, is it converging